The stars over Aurora Prime gleamed like scattered diamonds across black velvet. The planet's two suns were setting, casting long shadows over the bustling spaceport. Ships of all shapes and sizes moved in and out of the orbiting docks, leaving trails of blue and orange exhaust. It was a hub of Terran activity, a place where diplomats, traders, and explorers from across human space converged. The people here prided themselves on their history, on the stories of humans who had ventured far beyond their home system and had never turned away from a call for help. In the heart of the spaceport, Captain Leora Kane stood at the observation deck, her eyes scanning the stars. She had heard rumors of a mysterious signal, an ancient distress call that had appeared suddenly in the communication archives. It was encrypted in old Terran code, the kind that had not been used in centuries. "It came from somewhere deep in uncharted space," said Admiral Torin Vey, standing beside her. His uniform was pristine, his medals catching the fading light. The archives show it as old, perhaps centuries old. But the message, it calls for us. Specifically, for humans. R474. News. 74. R. News. R. News. R. Leora frowned. Her curiosity piqued. Humans? Why would an alien signal use Terran code? The Admiral shrugged. That is the mystery. We don't know who sent it or why. But the words are clear. Help came from one human long ago. Now the galaxy calls in return. That much is undeniable. Leora's mind raced. She had read about humans from centuries ago, explorers who had gone to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. One name kept appearing in the old chronicles. Captain Elias Drake, a man who had disappeared into the void, whose bravery had saved an entire alien civilization, the Sirathi, from extinction. The Sirathi were peaceful, delicate creatures with translucent skin and eyes that glowed softly in the dark. Their planet had been dying, their resources exhausted, and their people scattered across hostile space. Drake had found them long ago and had risked his life to save them, sharing human technology and knowledge. Centuries later, it seemed their gratitude had not faded. Leora felt a shiver run down her spine. You think it's the Sirathi? After all this time? Admiral Vey nodded slowly. It is possible. If it is, then they are in trouble. And they are asking for humans. For us. The council chamber was alive with debate. Terran leaders, historians, and fleet captains filled the room, their voices echoing against the polished metal walls. Some argued that responding could be a trap, that ancient signals in uncharted space often led to ambushes or worse. Others believed the message was genuine. Humanity has always answered when others called, said Counselor Mena, her voice firm. Our history is full of examples. We never left those in need behind. Why start now? Another voice interrupted. And if it is a trap? We could lose lives, ships, even entire fleets chasing a message that is centuries old. Leora raised her hand. The fact that this signal uses Terran code, that means someone, long ago, trusted us enough to record it in a way we could understand. That is not coincidence. That is intention. Someone expects us to respond. There was silence for a moment. Then Admiral Vey spoke. We will respond. Every Terran captain will answer the call. This is not just a message. This is a debt that began centuries ago, with one human who chose to act when others might have ignored the call. The room erupted in murmurs, some in agreement, some in skepticism. But the decision was final. Terrans would go. Every captain would answer. As the fleet mobilized, Leora visited the archives. She wanted to understand the man whose actions had reached across centuries. Captain Elias Drake was more than a hero. He was a legend. Records showed him navigating treacherous star systems, negotiating with hostile species, and making impossible choices to save lives. The Sirathi records described him as the human who carried their world. But there was more. Hidden among the old data was a personal log, written in Drake's own hand. He spoke not of glory, not of fame, but of duty. Of the simple belief that if one could help, one must. Leora read the words aloud softly. I do not know if they will remember me. I do not seek reward. But if I can save a life, a species, a world, I will. A chill ran through her. That same principle, centuries later, still guided the Terran people. It was what made them respected, feared, and admired across the galaxy. The fleet prepared to depart. Ships of every design, sleek explorers, armed cruisers, massive freighters lined the docks. Crews ran last-minute checks, technicians scurried through corridors, and commanders briefed their officers. Leora climbed aboard her ship, the Starhawk, a vessel designed for speed and adaptability. Her crew, handpicked for their skills and bravery, waited. Set course for the uncharted system, she commanded. Let's see who is calling, and why. The engines roared to life, and the Starhawk lifted off. One by one, other ships joined, forming a glittering convoy of human determination. As they left the orbit of Aurora Prime, Leora felt a weight in her chest, not fear, but responsibility. They were not just answering a call. They were carrying the legacy of humanity itself. Days passed, as the fleet traveled through uncharted space. The stars stretched endlessly around them, and the signal grew stronger, guiding them like a beacon. The crew worked tirelessly, monitoring sensors, mapping anomalies, and preparing for the unknown. Leora spent long hours in the observation deck, studying the stars and thinking of Captain Drake. She imagined the Sirathi, living on a fragile planet, hoping that help would come, even if the humans of their time had long vanished. And now, here they were. Finally, the system came into view. A blue and green planet orbited a dim, unstable sun. Its surface shimmered with strange energy patterns, evidence of cosmic instability. This was the world that had called for help. The Sirathi emerged from the shadows of the planet, their ships delicate and translucent, almost like living organisms. They were fewer than records had suggested, their civilization having survived but remained hidden for centuries. When the humans' fleet appeared, there was no hostility, only awe and cautious hope. An alien voice echoed through the fleet's universal translators. Humans, you have come. After so many cycles, you remember. You come because one human once saved us. Leora's heart pounded. We remember, she said, her voice steady. We always remember. The Sirathi guided the fleet closer to the planet. Their technology, though advanced in ways unfamiliar to humans, had struggled to contain the growing instability of their sun. Without help, their world would not survive the next cycle. As the humans began assessments, the enormity of the task became clear. The sun's energy fluctuations threatened to tear the planet apart. Shields would not hold, and evacuation alone would not be enough. Leora realized that this mission would test everything the Terrans were known for: ingenuity, courage, and unity. That night, as the Starhawk hovered above the Sirathi world, Leora looked at the stars. She thought of Captain Drake and the choice he had made centuries ago. That choice had echoed across time. And now, humans had the chance to repay it not for reward, but because it was right. The fleet would answer the call. Every Terran captain would. And when history looked back on this moment, they would see that humans were a species that never abandoned those who once believed in them. Leora whispered to herself, "Let's make sure the galaxy remembers us. For the right reasons." And with that, Part 1 closed. Humans on the brink of an unprecedented mission. Ready to prove once again that when the call for help comes, humanity always answers. The human fleet hovered above the Sirathi homeworld, a glittering array of ships stretching across the dark sky. Every captain had responded, just as the Council had ordered. Sleek explorers glided beside massive cruisers, and every ship carried crews trained for courage, ingenuity, and survival. Among them, Captain Leora Kane felt both awe and responsibility. The signal that had called them here was centuries old, but the need was urgent. Sensors across the fleet hummed with activity. Energy fluctuations from the planet's sun created unpredictable gravitational waves. Shields would not hold long, and the delicate atmosphere of the Scifi planet was already showing signs of collapse. The humans worked quickly, deploying drones, scanning the surface, and consulting the Scifi leaders. The Scifi were unlike any other species humans had encountered. Their bodies shimmered in translucent light, and their voices carried a musical quality. Though peaceful, they were desperate. The humans could sense it in the way they moved, the way they spoke. This was not just a plea for help. It was a life-or-death call. Captain Leora convened a meeting aboard the Starhawk. Other captains joined through holographic projection, their faces tense but determined. "Here's the situation," Leora began. "The sun is unstable. The planet is at risk of being destroyed within the next cycle. Shields alone won't work. Evacuation is possible, but it's temporary. We need a long-term solution, and we need it fast." Captain Rian Vega, a veteran with a reputation for daring, leaned forward. "We can deploy energy dampeners, but the sun's output is unpredictable. We need to combine Scifi technology with our own systems." "Agreed," Leora said. "This is not a fight we can handle alone. Every ship will contribute engineers, scientists, pilots. We adapt. We improvise. That's what humans do." The fleet spread out. Engineers worked in unison, human and Scifi alike, blending technology in ways neither species had tried before. Drones and satellites formed a web around the planet, monitoring the star and absorbing dangerous radiation bursts. Terran scientists calculated trajectories, energy flows, and gravitational disturbances, their minds working faster than the sensors could relay. Meanwhile, pilots trained for combat drills began flying intricate patterns above the planet, testing the limits of their ships. Their presence wasn't for battle. It was for coordination, ready to respond instantly to sudden changes. Every movement was precise, every calculation exact. Despite their preparation, the fleet encountered immediate danger. The sun flared violently, shooting out waves of plasma that threatened the outer ships. Leora's Starhawk rocked under the force, alarms blaring. "All hands, brace for impact," she shouted. Shields held, but only barely. Crew members worked tirelessly, adjusting energy distribution, stabilizing the ship, and keeping systems operational. Captain Vega's cruiser was hit by a wave of energy, forcing him to maneuver at maximum capacity. "We can't hold much longer," he reported. "We need a new approach." Leora nodded, her mind racing. "We adapt. We combine our strengths. Scifi tech for energy absorption, Terran tech for stability. We weave the systems together. Make it work." For hours, the humans worked. It was not easy. Some solutions failed spectacularly. Systems overloaded, and minor explosions rocked the fleet. But every failure taught them something new. They adjusted, recalculated, and tried again. Slowly, the planet's shields began to stabilize. The energy waves from the sun were absorbed and redirected safely into space. On the surface, the Scifi watched in awe. Their civilization had survived centuries of hardship, but they had never seen courage or ingenuity like this. The humans' willingness to risk everything, to think creatively under pressure, filled them with hope. Yet challenges remained. The sun's instability created gravitational anomalies, pulling massive chunks of rock into orbit. A meteor storm approached, threatening to destroy the energy grid humans had built. Captain Leora called a fleet-wide maneuver. "We divide and conquer," she said. "Intercept the meteors before they hit the grid. Timing is everything." Squadrons of Terran pilots and Scifi drones formed a barrier, intercepting the incoming meteors. Human ingenuity shone through in the use of unconventional tactics, magnetic fields to alter the meteor's path, precision beams to break them into harmless fragments, and coordinated strikes that relied on split-second timing. It worked. The meteors were destroyed or deflected, and the energy grid remained intact. Cheers erupted in the fleet. But Leora reminded everyone, "We're not done. The sun is still unstable. We must stay vigilant. Even with the immediate threat managed, tensions ran high among the Terran captains. Disagreements on strategy sparked debates. Some argued for aggressive energy absorption. Others favored protective barriers around the planet. Leora mediated, balancing opinions with calm authority. We are humans, she reminded them. We think, we act, and we adapt. Every idea has value. Every person here has skills that matter. We work together, or we fail together. The fleet slowly unified under her leadership. Terran and Sarathi engineers collaborated seamlessly, blending energy technologies in ways previously unimagined. Communication lines hummed with activity, data flowed, calculations were adjusted, and slowly, the planet's environment stabilized. Days passed, and the crew barely rested. Yet, despite exhaustion, morale remained high. Humans thrived in adversity. They encouraged each other, joked when possible, and drew strength from their shared purpose. The Sarathi began to participate more actively, inspired by human determination. They offered insights into their technology and planetary systems, bridging centuries of knowledge. Captain Vega approached Leora one evening. You know, he said, looking out at the planet, there is something about humans that amazes other species. We don't give up. We don't just react, we think, we solve, we push beyond what seems possible. Leora smiled faintly. It's what our ancestors taught us. Captain Elias Drake taught it long ago. He believed in helping others, no matter the risk. That belief, it is still alive in every human here, and he was right. Centuries ago, Drake had faced impossible odds and saved the Sarathi from extinction. Now, generations later, humans were doing it again, proving that courage and ingenuity were not just traits, they were a legacy. The final challenge came unexpectedly. A sudden spike in the sun's energy threatened to overwhelm the entire system. The shields alone could not contain it. Leora made a bold decision. We need to direct the energy into space, she said. It's risky, but it's the only way. We combine the Sarathi energy conduits with our own plasma projectors. Focus all ship's power toward the sun's output. If we fail, it could destroy us. But if we succeed, we save a world. The captains exchanged tense looks but nodded. Everyone understood the stakes. Fleet-wide coordination began. Ships adjusted positions, energy conduits hummed with power, and the planet's surface lights glowed as Sarathi systems prepared for the transfer. Leora's heart raced. Now, she shouted, energy beams connected, humans and Sarathi working in perfect synchrony. The sun's violent output was absorbed and safely redirected. The storm subsided, gravitational anomalies diminished, and for the first time in centuries, the Sarathi planet stabilized. Silence filled the fleet. Crew members stared at their instruments, hardly believing what they had accomplished. Slowly, cheers erupted. Humans and Sarathi alike celebrated the success, relief, and joy mixing in the air. The Sarathi emissary appeared before the humans' fleet in holographic form. You have done the impossible, the voice said. You have saved our world. You have honored one human who believed in us centuries ago. The galaxy will remember this day. Leora felt a deep sense of pride, not in herself, but in humanity. Humans had faced danger, uncertainty, and fear, and they had persevered. They had demonstrated ingenuity, courage, and teamwork in a way no alien species could match. That night, as the fleet rested above the stabilized planet, Leora reflected on the mission. She thought of Captain Drake, whose choice long ago had set this chain of events in motion. She realized that humanity's strength was not just in technology or firepower, but in the values that endured through generations: courage, creativity, and an unwavering commitment to help those in need. In the distance, the planet shimmered under its new stability. The Sarathi were safe, their civilization preserved, and humanity's legacy of honor and bravery had once again proven itself across the stars. And though the battle was won, Leora knew the story was far from over. The galaxy had witnessed humans at their best, and there would be more challenges, more calls for help, and more opportunities to show that when humans answer, they do so with unmatched heart and determination. For now, though, the Terran fleet could rest heroes of the past and present, united by a single truth. When a human once saved a life, the ripple effect could last centuries, and when the call came again, humans would always answer. The planet's surface glowed softly under the twin suns, now stable and serene. The Sarathi civilization, once teetering on the edge of extinction, began to rebuild. Humans in the orbiting fleet watched in quiet pride as the alien population emerged from their shelters, their delicate forms moving carefully over streets and plazas that had been abandoned for centuries. Captain Leora Kane stood on the bridge of the Starhawk, observing the Sarathi from the observation deck. Beside her, Admiral Torin Vey's expression was one of calm satisfaction, the kind that came from seeing a mission completed successfully against impossible odds. "They are alive," he said simply, "and we helped make sure of it." Leora nodded. "Yes, but it's more than survival. Look at them. They are thriving already. They trusted us, and we honored that trust. That is what makes humanity different." Across the fleet, captains and crews celebrated quietly. Though there were no fanfares or parades, the sense of achievement was profound. Every crew member had played a role, and each understood that what they had accomplished was extraordinary. The Sarathi emissaries approached the human ships in a coordinated display of gratitude. Holographic forms shimmered above the main fleet, each radiating respect and admiration. "Humans," one of them said in the universal translator's melodic tone, "your courage and wisdom have given us a future we thought lost. You have honored Elias Drake's legacy, and in doing so, you honor all of humanity." Leora's voice carried across the communications channel. "We only acted as any human would. When someone calls for help, we respond. That is our duty, and our privilege." The Sarathi emissaries nodded, their bioluminescent bodies glowing brighter as if to mirror their emotion. "Your species is remarkable. Even centuries ago, one human's choice shaped the destiny of our people. Now, we see that your legacy continues. You are a light in the galaxy, a force for hope." As humans and Sarathi exchanged knowledge, the bond between the species deepened. Humans shared advancements in energy management, orbital engineering, and navigation. The Sarathi provided insights into their planetary systems and subtle energy manipulation techniques. Together, they repaired infrastructure, stabilized ecosystems, and prepared for future threats. Captain Rian Vega laughed lightly as he watched Sarathi engineers adapt human tools. "They're quick learners," he said to Leora. "Faster than some of our own crews." Leora smiled. "It's not just learning. It's trust. They know we came to help, and that builds something stronger than technology alone." In the following weeks, the Terran fleet coordinated the evacuation of civilians from unstable regions while simultaneously reinforcing protective systems. Human pilots navigated treacherous terrain to deliver supplies, build energy conduits, and repair damaged structures. Engineers worked day and night, combining human and Sirathi knowledge to create sustainable systems capable of withstanding future solar activity. Amid the work, stories of Captain Elias Drake surfaced. Sirathi historians shared accounts of his bravery, describing how a single human had saved their entire species centuries ago. The crew listened in awe, realizing that the actions of one individual had created a legacy that reached across generations. Leora spent long hours in the observation deck, reflecting on the story of Drake. His belief in helping others, even when success was uncertain, had set a standard for humanity. That standard had inspired generations, and now it was alive in every human aboard the fleet. The Sarathi invited the humans to witness a ceremony of remembrance and gratitude. On the surface, thousands gathered, their glowing forms filling the plazas and amphitheaters. The Sarathi had prepared a display of light and energy, representing the intertwined fates of their species and humanity. The emissary spoke. Centuries ago, one human's courage gave us life. Today, humanity has answered the call once more. This is a bond that will endure across the stars. Captain Leora stepped forward. We do not act for reward. We act because it is the right thing to do. Humanity believes that helping others is a duty and an honor. We will always answer when life calls. The crowd responded with a gentle chorus of light and sound, a Sarathi form of applause. For a moment, the humans and aliens shared a profound understanding, different species, yet united by values that transcended time. In the fleet, captains shared their reflections. Some spoke of the courage of their crews, others of the ingenuity that had solved impossible problems, but all agreed on one thing: the HFY spirit of humanity, courage, selflessness, and determination had shone brighter than any star. Leora visited the Sarathi archives with a small team of historians. They uncovered more records of Drake's time, letters to allies, and personal logs. Each entry reinforced a lesson: that one person's choice could change the course of history. Humans had seen it once, and now they had lived it themselves. Captain Vega approached Leora as they stood among the ancient Sarathi texts. "You know," he said, "I always thought HFY stories were about battles and victories. But this is something greater. It's about who we are as humans. Our courage, our choices. It lasts." Leora nodded. "Exactly. Technology, power, strategy, they matter. But what defines humanity is our will to act when it counts. That is what earns respect across the galaxy." As the fleet prepared to depart, the Sarathi expressed a final gesture of gratitude. They presented the humans with symbols of their culture: energy crystals that could store knowledge and memories, and a star map marking safe routes through their systems. "These are gifts," the emissary said. "But more importantly, they are a reminder of our bond. When humans helped us, they changed history. Now, history carries both our species forward." Leora held one of the crystals in her hands, marveling at its glow. "It's beautiful," she said, "but the real gift is trust, and we will carry that forward." The Terran fleet lifted off, leaving the Sarathi world safe and stable. Humans returned to their own systems, but their mission would be remembered across generations. Stories of bravery, ingenuity, and selflessness would circulate through colonies, schools, and fleet academies. Young humans would learn of the Sarathi rescue and the centuries-old legacy of Captain Elias Drake. They would know that humanity's values were not just words, they were actions. Captain Leora Kane sat in the Starhawk's command chair, gazing at the stars stretching endlessly before them. "We did it," she whispered to herself. "We honored the past, saved a civilization, and proved who we are." Admiral Vey placed a hand on her shoulder. "Yes, Captain. And remember this: every time a human answers a call, it echoes across the galaxy. Today, the ripple began centuries ago, and it will continue for generations. That is the legacy we carry." The crew of the Starhawk celebrated quietly. Engineers repaired systems, pilots debriefed, and communications officers transmitted logs back to Terran archives. There was no arrogance, no boastfulness, just quiet pride in knowing that humanity had done the right thing. As the fleet moved toward their next assignments, news spread across the stars. Alien civilizations had witnessed humanity at its finest. Brave, inventive, selfless, and dependable. The galaxy began to look at humans differently. They were no longer just explorers, traders, or warriors. They were a beacon of hope, a species capable of extraordinary courage and honor. In private moments, Leora reflected on the message that had begun this journey. Help came from one human long ago. Now the galaxy calls in return. The call had been answered, not because it was easy, but because it was right. That principle, simple yet profound, defined humanity across the centuries. Back on Aurora Prime, council members received the fleet's reports. Every captain had returned safely. Every Sarathi community had been secured, and human ingenuity had been proven once again. The Council prepared to archive the mission as a testament to humanity's enduring spirit. In the quiet of the archives, Leora added her own note. The galaxy will always call, and humans will always answer. That is who we are. That is our legacy. Floast. And so, history recorded another chapter of HFY greatness, from one human's choice centuries ago to an entire fleet's courageous action in the present. Humanity had demonstrated what it meant to be worthy of admiration, trust, and respect. Across the stars, civilizations would remember, and when the next call came, they would know that humans would be there. The story closed not with an end, but with a promise. Humanity's courage and honor would echo forever, inspiring generations, and shaping the galaxy for all time.